Hello from a very soggy and chilly end to November. Over the last couple of weeks we've had quite a few sharp frosts, which has meant that the dahlias have finally had it. They are completely black, they're not going to flower anymore this year, and they've gone into slumber mode for the winter. And it's only going to get colder, so it's time to sort them out. Whether you're lifting them, mulching them, now is the time to get on it. Might actually get temperatures of -4 later this week, so you know it's time for me to decide what I'm doing, and it's been a bit tricky to gauge what I'm doing with these because now I definitely don't need 50 odd dahlias next year. So what I'm going to do is mulch them for the winter, lift them in the spring, and then maybe sell some, get rid of some, and just keep the ones that I really want. But right now I don't have the time or the space to lift them, dry them and store them. I don't have the space at home anymore, so I'm going to be mulching them, and that's what I'm going to do today. So first of all, I'm just going to cut the stems back to about 6 inches above the ground so that I can see where they are. And I've already started to cut a few things back and set up my compost bed, which is behind me where the straw flowers were, because I can't actually get to my compost bin at the minute. Now then, so that I know which one is which in the ground, I've got my diagram that I used in the spring when planting them, and I'm going to use that against them in the ground to know exactly which one is which. And I'm going to label it and then put this pin into the ground exactly where the dahlia is. But yes, it is incredibly wet and I don't really want to be here for too long today because the ground is just horrible and muddy and it's just not nice, although the sun has been out, which has been lovely. So yes, I've got lots of pegs, lots of labels, lots of cutting back and mulching to do. So yes, there is a chance that come springtime I will be selling some of my dahlias, so keep your eyes out for that. I did think about doing it before Christmas, but I'm just not going to have that time, unfortunately. Now I've definitely got quite a few of the great Hercules dahlias that I won't be keeping next year. As gorgeous as they were, they're not for my normal arrangements. Come spring, you might be able to buy it. It's funny how it's sort of copying what it did this time last year, where we had quite a mild autumn and then suddenly as December arrived the cold came, although last year it was quite drastic. It went down to like -7 for 10 days. That was, yeah, very cold. Petra's Wedding. I did love Petra's Wedding, that's one of my pom-pom varieties. I'm quite often asked, you know, should I lift my dahlias or should I mulch them? And I have a separate video all about that. But essentially it just comes down to your soil. If your soil floods in the winter time and gets very wet and muddy, you'll probably want to lift them. If your soil is quite free draining and you know it doesn't get too cold in your area, then you can probably just leave them in and mulch them. I don't think I've lost any the times that I have mulched them, which hasn't been too many times, but I'm very confident because I've got quite good soil that they'll be absolutely fine given that we have a nice winter. I was trying to be very careful so that I could preserve this netting that I used to keep my dahlias upright, but it appears to be snapping because it's just rotted in certain places, and I don't think it's going to be very good, which is a real shame because it wasn't cheap. See, just kind of snapped. So I'm just going to kind of cut them. Look at that, that's rubbish. Well, it did its job, but it's not very strong. At least it's natural and it can go in the compost bin. It's not the plastic sort. Right, well I better get a shimmy on because it's going to get dark soon. Oh, the joy. Well, they're all labelled and cut back to about 6 inches. I just need to get some wood chip out of my car, and then I'm going to make little mountains on top of each dahlia, because it's going to get cold tonight. It'll be about -2, -3 tonight. Oh, my robin friend is back to find all the worms. So yes, I just need to make some little mountains of wood chip. But before I do that, I thought I'd just have a little walk around the plot, because it's 3 o'clock and it's going to start to get very dark very quickly. So I'm not going to do a full tour because there's not much time in these dark days and there's not too much to look at. But let's have a little walk around, shall we? Look at that gorgeous golden sunlight in this early evening. There is still a lot to do, a lot of tidying up. But yes, you can see the straw flowers I've cut back. This is going to be my compost pile for the foreseeable until I can get down to the compost bins. The Kobe scandens is still going, which really surprised me because they're not very cold hardy. I imagine over the next week it will start to look a bit black and mushy like everything else, but for the time being we've still got, look, flowers coming. But yes, all the leaves have otherwise pretty much fallen. My apple tree is halfway there. But you know what? I spotted something really, really unusual down here. Let me go show you. Down in the wildlife corner, there is signs of spring, an unseasonal spring. Ooh, now this is one of the areas that I won't be cutting back too much until spring is back, because the wildlife love it. But can you see that? Let me zoom in. There. I've got lupins flowering. What on earth? And it's not even the right colour, it's yellow. I don't have any yellow lupins. So bizarre. So what is going on here? This is a pinky white one, I'm pretty sure. And yeah. So strange. But that's the only one, I think, that's doing it. Also, I think there's a resident rodent trying to live under the shed, because I've noticed him digging a hole underneath the slabs that are laying the foundation of my shed. So I really need to give it a good clean. You can see from the state of it. I mean, it's been a year now since the shed had its really nice makeover, and I just want to get it back to how it should be. So yes, that's going to have a good tidy. The shed roof needs looking at. The felt definitely needs replacing because it tore off in the summer months and now it's leaking inside. There's so much to do. Honestly, I need like a whole team of helpers right now, but yeah, can only do one thing at a time. Let's spin you around. Not everything has finished flowering because the Mahonia has just begun. This is my Mahonia soft caress. Bright yellow flowers and nice soft leaves. Looks very palmy and tropical. And another one that flowers in the winter is the Fatsia japonica. It's just starting. These all open up a bit more and be nice and white. And the bees do love them in the winter months. The ginkgo has dropped all of its lovely yellow leaves, but it's just revealed all of this new wood. Look how much it's grown this year. All of that is young new growth. So it's doing really well, even though it's in a pot. I planted these chrysanthemums earlier this year after visiting a specialist nursery, and they're just flowering now, although looking a little bit bedraggled and floppy from all the rain. But this is a good representation of the plot right now. Wet, mushy, and just not very nice. All the nasturtium, look, it smells very peppery. It feels rather disgusting. The grass paths are very muddy and I didn't get a chance to give them a final cut before the cold weather came, so they're very long and muddy. But in this flower bed we've actually got a few surprises, such as this scabious. Look, nearly the 1st of December and we've got some lovely little creamy flowers. Also the dark night one, I cut it back just to tidy it up, but I can see buds on these as well. Whether they'll get a chance to fully bloom we will see, but look, scabious dark night is actually pretty tough. And then there's also so much more of the statice. Here we are from this side of the plot. Very brown. When it comes to clearing off the brambles, I don't really tend to compost them. I do tend to make one bonfire a year, and that's when I get rid of things like the brambles and the harder, tougher, woodier stuff. So I tend to make a big pile of all the spiky stuff and then a big pile of all the compostables. Compostables will go in the bin when there's room and as I can get to it, and I make a pile of all the spiky things so that I can wear my special gloves to touch and deal with them. So yeah, that pile will be set up in due course. I just really can't wait to free the tunnel. Look at that. One thing that I have got around to doing is sorting out the tunnel a little bit. So all the tomatoes have now been cut back, and well, let's have a look. Just the other day I've moved in my yet to harvest potatoes. I've been a bit slow on that this year. I've also cut back a lot of the panicum grass that I can use in Christmas wreaths and decorations. Really lovely sort of sparkle. I've also got in here my pelargoniums because they don't like it too cold. They don't like it below 5 really, but I might move them into my house. And I've also got all my chilies in here. That is the Armageddon, although a little bit rotty. That is incredibly hot. We may have filmed a chili challenge video for you coming at some point soon. And then I've also moved in the eucalyptus because this one isn't super hardy. And then yeah, here are all the chilies. Really need to go and pick all of those before they start to rot. I've also moved indoors the little lime and my lemon tree. The lime's looking pretty good. It's put on a lot of growth. We've got some baby limes. I don't know if they'll actually ripen enough to use, but it's had a good growing year, so I'm really pleased with that. So that's what's going on. Not a lot, but there's a lot to do. I've also got my hedges to do soon. I quite look forward to doing that in January time. And for now I need to finish covering up those molehills, or make some molehills with wood chip. Let's go get it out of the car. So now that I've got them clearly labelled, I'm going to cover them with a good 2 or 3 inches of this time wood chip, but you could also use compost. But at the moment wood chip is a lot cheaper per 100 litres than compost is, and you get a lot thicker, denser blanket for your money. So that's why I'm using it. Sometimes we do have some free stuff that we can get from the car park of the local tree surgeon. He dumps his waste here, which is great for us, but he hasn't been for a while now. So I'm now just going to cut them right down to the ground now that they are labelled. And it's important to do that because these tubes, or stems should I say, contain a lot of water, and you can often see it just puddled inside the stem. And if I was to leave that above ground and then the frost gets in and then all that water freezes, and it could run the risk of bursting inside your dahlia tuber, which is not ideal. So I'm going to cut these right down to the ground now. Now you've got to remember that underground your dahlia tubers aren't just this big. They can actually reach over a foot in size. It depends how many years old they've been in the ground, but you want to mulch them at least a foot round circle. one of the things that I just know is going to happen is I'm going to come back and find all of this wood chip all over the parts and chucked everywhere. And that's because the blackbirds love digging for worms and they will sift through stuff like this. But it will compact down and I will top it up with some of the free stuff once it's available in the car park, because when we come to January, February, that's when we get the real cold temperatures. So this is just its sort of first application to get it through the start of the colder weather. Well, I better get this all finished, but I will see you guys real soon. Thanks for tuning in. How's the weather been at your end? Have you got any snow yet? We might be getting some on Thursday, but I get the feeling it might just be a bit sleety. I don't think we'll really get a great deal here in Nottingham. But yeah, thanks for coming and joining me today. Just a quick catch up. I wanted to say hello, and I will see you again in the next one real soon. Take care.